BVSA Sports Show, episode 8. Joe and Matt. A lot to dive into today. Some baseball, some football. We'll start where we always start with some baseball updates. The big news coming in around midnight last night. Carlos Correa to the Giants, 13 years, $350 million. I believe he's 28, he's 29.
Late 20s, yeah. So
all these shortstops are getting these crazy deals, 10 years, 11 years. This one tops them all, 13 years. They're signing him through age 42. To me, this is, hey, we missed out on Judge. We have to throw something up, hoping it sticks, give our fans something. So basically they're pairing him with Mitch Haniger, who will play the position. Judge obviously would have played right field, and now they get Correa.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just throwing money because they have it, and it's like he's really like the last big name like position player left, yeah. So I think he's like, you know what, let's get our guy, and then see how it goes. But I feel like he's gonna end up being there like 4 or 5 years, and then he's gonna be on another team. It had just happened with the Twins.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know.
Did he even have that great of a year last year in terms of these types of contracts? Like, to me, it's Trey Turner, and then Xander's a little bit below him, and then there's a huge gap between them two and Carlos Correa.
I would say so, yeah. I don't think his year was that good to get that much money, but again, they're probably just looking at his history and they think he can, I don't know, rebound and bounce back year. And that's kind of what ends up happening, right? If players leave these teams and then these other teams give them a chance, and then hopefully it works out. But yeah, I think it comes down. I think it honestly just ended because of the Judge thing. The fact that they had so much money left, they had to get somebody.
Yeah. I mean, they're still not going anywhere near the top two in that division for me. It's still the Dodgers, so same kind of gap. It's still the Dodgers, still the Padres, and then Giants. So,
yeah.
So, I mean, they're making a couple of smaller moves too. A couple of pitchers they're signing. They're clearly not done, and they're still trying to, I guess, put a Band-Aid on the miss that was Aaron Judge. Obviously, it's not possible. Like, even as a Met fan, we talk about DeGrom and Verlander being that Band-Aid, but if DeGrom's healthy, he's still not DeGrom.
Yeah.
So to me, this is going to end up being a huge mistake. Like you said, a couple years. I think I got to pull up his numbers. I think he had like 22 home runs and he hit like 265 last year. So he had a great year. But in terms of these shortstops with these contracts, I think they could have paid half the price for Dansby Swanson, and that would have been a far better move than all that money, all those years for Correa. So take that now and bring that into your Yankees. Super quiet. The two names swirling around them, Swanson and Rodon, who we talked about last week, who still hasn't done anything since then.
So I'm a big Swanson guy. I love Dansby Swanson. I just love the dude just in general. I don't know why. He just seems like a great dude.
Yep.
But I think he's a great fit, and obviously IKF is, I don't know. I didn't hate him because honestly he hit way better than a lot of people thought he was going to do. Like, everyone was like, oh, he's just going to be like the defensive guy. Had some error, like a lot of errors, and he made like some of the big plays, but then he missed some of the routine ones. So I don't know. He's kind of like a hit or miss thing. It's interesting because I would absolutely love to have Dansby at shortstop, but then it's like, what do they do next? Do they put IKF at third? Do they? I don't know what's going on with Donaldson. I mean, I don't really want him on the team personally, but yeah, it'd be interesting. I think it would help them. Obviously, it's a huge boost. I think it'd be great for the lineup. He's like a guy that gets on base again. Same thing, where they're just not just hitting home runs every single hitter. And then with Rodon, obviously, again, we talked about this already. We touched on it, but I think he would be a great fit. I think that would bolster their rotation, be pretty great. Now, I don't know if he's looking for some crazy deal, and the Yankees don't want to give it to him after signing Judge.
I think that's for 7 years he wants.
See, that's
a lot.
Yeah, so the Yankees, I bet you the Yankees went to him and were like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then they were trying to do, I mean, it was a similar thing with Judge until someone else pushed an offer and then they went. So, I don't know. I mean, if he doesn't get that deal from any other team, he may go back to the Yankees and be like, hey, like, I may end up taking that deal. So, hopefully that happens and they don't take a 7-year because that's a lot. But, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I get them just trying to pay up now and try and get something rolling. Obviously, after the playoffs, like, it was a disappointment. So, I could see it.
Yeah, I correlate Rodon and what's going on there with Michael Conforto. Now, stay with me for a second. Okay. Michael Conforto had an offer on the table from the Mets. I think it was like $150 million. And he's a Boras client. And he said, you know, we're worth more. We're going to wait it out. We're going to wait out the market. All these teams now fill their voids.
Exactly.
Now, Rodon's different than Conforto, where Rodon's going to be playing for somebody next year. It's not that. That's where it differs. But he might do exactly what you just said. He's trying to get that 7th year, and then it's going to come, okay, maybe we'll settle for 6. Maybe there are teams like the Yankees, like the Giants, that are saying 4 years, 5 years, and he'll have to, quote-unquote, settle for the years, for the money, because he's waiting out this market, and then all of a sudden the new year's going to come around. It's going to be like, okay, I need to sign somewhere and go play somebody. So we'll see what happens there. I think now with Correa and Haniger, I assume there's money left for the Giants. Maybe I keep forgetting he is or was a Giant last year. Maybe they come back into play and say, hey, we're still going for it, and there's clearly still more due to get close to the Dodgers and the Padres. Maybe they take another run at them.
Making a push.
So all quiet still in the Yanks front. The Mets, we talked about it last week. It was a very brief, like, one-liner from me. Kodai, saying his name right, Kodai Senga was going to be a Met. He signs 5 years, $75 million, which to me is the biggest steal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right? We never know how these guys transfer over, and obviously there's a lot still to be seen. I'm just looking at it from the sense that we are paying less for him than the Phillies are paying Taijuan Walker.
Yeah, it's
right.
crazy.
I did not like Walker. I think he was a good first half guy, and the wheels fell off every year in the second half. He was fine. But they're paying him $18 million a year. We get Senga with potential superstar potential of $15
It's like just low risk, could be a high reward. The ceiling is there, and then just see how it goes. They could be really good for the Mets.
Absolutely. I'm curious, as somebody who's not a Met fan, how do you feel about Steve Cohen and obviously all the moves he's made, all the money he's thrown out, and the comments that we're hearing about baseball and if it's fair, if it's not fair, if he shouldn't be doing this, it's corrupt, he's ruining it. Where do you stand? Because as a Met fan, obviously I love it, but at the same time, don't want to feel like the Yankees of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, where it feels like we're trying to buy a championship. So where do you come in there?
Baseball's an interesting one because there's not necessarily a cap. It's like a soft cap, and then you just pay the luxury tax. But all of these owners have so much money that they're doing it because they know that for them to have the potential to win, it's worth it because they'll end up making that money back. It's not like they're going to lose it, right? So I think that, I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm a Yankee fan, so it's like it's kind of what we do. Obviously, we've actually been doing well with our farm system. Obviously, we've been pretty lucky. But I mean, I'm not opposed to it because I think it makes for really fun baseball, but I also think that it limits it to like 6 teams, 4 teams. Because then it's like you got obviously the Rays somehow figure it out every year, but it's very hard to maintain that. You're not going to maintain that plugging in guys in certain spots, and he's got to hit for average, he's going to get a certain amount of home runs. Reminds me of Moneyball, one of my favorite movies.
Absolutely.
Very similar to that. So it's like, I mean, is it good for the sport in the long term? Probably not. It's kind of entertaining if your team's in the mix, but then if you get the teams that aren't, it's like, okay, so what are we supposed to do? Like, what are we really expecting to do this year? So I don't know. I mean, it's a mixture of feelings. I'd probably say they have to have more of a hard cap at some point, and it can't just be pay the luxury tax because owners are going to do it over and over. So, I mean, I'm sure there's talks about it because so many people have brought it up, but, I mean, we'll see where it goes in the future.
Yeah, I think I read Steve Cohen is paying more this year at this moment in luxury tax penalties than the payroll of Tampa, Pittsburgh, Oakland, Baltimore. So that's where I don't like it. That's why I love that they signed Brandon Nimmo. He's like a homegrown dude. So it's not like we're just really plugging in pieces. I mean, you go down the lineup and you go through the rotation now and the bullpen, and none of these guys were here 3-4 years ago. You look at that picture of the 2015 World Series of that starting rotation, they're all gone. Right? DeGrom was the last one. So I'm excited for it. I like it. And for the sport, it's cool when you mention like the Rays, when they have their payroll and they make noise and they make a playoff run and they go to the World Series. Then you see a team like Pittsburgh or Oakland that no one's at the games. They're 40, 50 games below 500. That's where you see the drastic difference that you don't see in other sports. Right? It's nothing like football, like we'll get into now, but even those teams in football, like Houston, the Texans, they're the worst team in football. They're still competing. They're still, they have more to, football draft. The football draft, in my opinion, means a little bit more than baseball, just because those kids make more of an immediate impact on the team the following year. So you would think a team like Houston has every right to tank the last couple games and go
Take
get the
a
number
good
one
pick.
pick. But you see it all the time. Like I feel like the Jets are notorious for it every year. They win like 3 of their last 4, and they
Screw
ruin
some
their
up.
top 3 pick, and now they pick 6. So
Uh-huh.
it's crazy to see how it compares to the other sports. But like you said, we'll see if anyone. I mean, I don't know what they can do.
There would have to
Like
be
with owners and
there would have to be a huge meeting about it and just talk about like how to make it at least competitive. Saying fair, I don't know if that's the right way to look at it, just because there's going to be bigger markets in certain places. New York's going to have the biggest market. LA, like it's just going to happen.
Yep.
There's not much you can do. Pittsburgh's not going to be, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I don't know. I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll find a happy medium.
one way or another. So let's get into the NFL. Let's get into our weekly fantasy football update first. Regular season came to an end. My 5-9 record wasn't good enough to make the playoffs. I was about 14 points away this past week between the Tua Waddle combo from making the playoffs, and they just didn't show up against the Chargers. So I'm out. You wrap up your 1 seed, having
Somehow.
lost 4 in a row.
So it was a good thing I had a good first half, that's for sure.
It's actually incredible. So you still haven't won a fantasy football matchup since you've been on the
Since the
show.
first
It's
show.
been a month now, 4 weeks, 4 losses. Somehow you wrap up the 1 seed, you get a bye. Coach Mike Giordano gets the 2, so you guys are both off this week, which is really weird for fantasy football.
It's
I don't want to change it. I like the idea of more teams getting in.
I need it bad.
But it's weird to think, like, what are you going to do this weekend?
So I have my other league, and we don't have buys, and I'm the 2 seed in that same record. So I'm probably now I can just focus on one league and not be like, oh, I need this player to do this against, and they're not against each other. Like, so that's kind of nice. But then the following week will be a mess if I win.
And it's weird to think, right? Someone's going to come in on Tuesday and say, "Oh, I scored 180 points. Like I would have won." And it's probably going to be Coach Mike.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's not going to realize that, like, technically he did win this week. Like he played well.
That's
enough
why
to
I got the
bye,
bye.
so it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. But hopefully, like so you're rooting for your team kind of to put up 70 this week.
So I
Just have a real off week.
need health. I got Lamar. I need to come back. I got health issues. I need Lamar to come back. I need Saquon to get fully healthy. I would love if they just limited his snaps again and then went full next.
Yeah.
But thing is, he's probably going to play division matchup, huge, important game.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried about that. But other than that, yeah, staying healthy now is just huge.
Yeah.
Because I think my team healthy is great, and I'm confident in it. But been a little rough the past few weeks.
Do you know if they reseed after this week, or do you get the 3-6 matchup regardless?
I think I get the 3-6 matchup regardless.
So you get
Pretty
the winner
sure.
of
So
Coach
I
Mike's
would
Studi and
love
Verge.
for Verge to win.
You would love, yeah.
But,
He's,
I
so
don't know.
Verge gets the last spot. Everyone knows Verge. He gets the last spot. It was between me, him, and the other coach Joe. He's 6-8. I mean, that's gonna be the one that team that squeaked in because first of all, 1 through 5 are all 9 and 5, and then you got
crazy.
one team 6-8. You know that team, whoever it was gonna be, they're gonna win a game this weekend.
Oh yeah, I could see
So
it.
some tells me Verge's going to win, but you have to, one, you're going to want to play Verge next week just based on record and team. And talking potential final matchup, I want you and Coach Mike. That is what
It
we
would
kind
be-
of made this for.
Yeah.
That would be
That would be great.
kind of surreal. So obviously next week we'll have another update. 2 teams will be eliminated. There'll be 4 left. No update on the calendar yet. I'm thinking definitely by the new year we'll have that up and done and
Yeah.
ready for purchase. So fantasy aside now, obviously everything comes down back to the Commanders for me, so that's where we're going to start. But this kid, Mr. Irrelevant for San Francisco, Purdy, what's his first name, Brock? Brock Purdy is just lighting it up. Right? Some say he doesn't have to do much. Some say he's got a loaded offense and defense, who are, by the way, dropping like flies with Jimmy G and now Debo down.
Yeah. Not great.
But nonetheless, they got a strong hold on the 3 spot in the playoffs as of right now. 4 weeks to go. They were my Super Bowl pick a couple weeks ago. When Jimmy G went down, I said they're done. I'm almost ready to put them right back in it. And that part of it is because of how bad the rest of the NFC is. But this kid is playing like he's a seasoned vet.
So he's the interesting thing that I thought, like, so when you see a backup come in that, you know, hasn't played or drafted super late, like you said, he's the last pick literally the dead last pick in the draft. So I think he came in and he like almost went in with like no worries. Like he was just playing free, because I think that's like actually so important in sports, obviously. Because if you think too much, you're gonna start making the wrong decisions, and you're just trying to do too much. You don't need to do all that. You have Kyle Shanahan at the helm. You don't really have to think too much. He will do it for you.
Yep.
You just have to make the play, and he's done that. He hasn't really turned the ball over. Like gets it to his important players, like we talked about. He's still got a bunch of guys, even with Debo down. So. Yeah, I don't know. I still think they're in contention, but again, I talked about this before. It's those games against the big heavy hitter offenses where if they get down, Mahomes gets the ball for a score 7 in 4 minutes. Now what? Right? You can't really rely on the running game if you get down a score or two. Right? You still gotta get the passing game going. He's got to make plays. So it'll be interesting to see, because we obviously don't know much about him. Which, I mean, that also goes for defenses too. They have to like adjust. He could be a little different than Jimmy G. So I think it'll be interesting. It's fun to see.
Cool to watch for sure. I compare him in a little bit of a different way, because obviously the pressure is on him. But Purdy and Taylor Heineke and Mike White are all doing kind of what you just said, where there really isn't that pressure because no one's expecting too much from him. Beginning of the season, this guy had Jimmy G, who they're paying a lot of money, and Trey Lance, their up-and-coming potential future superstar quarterback.
Yeah.
This guy thought, there's no way I'm taking a snap this year. And now here he is in the thick of it, going down the stretch run to get into the playoffs. So I think come playoff time, someone, maybe Dallas, someone's going to figure him out, right? The more he plays, the more tape there is on him. But, I mean, who knows? Like, Mike White's still doing it. Heineke's still doing it. Heineke's 6-1-1 his last 8 games. He's played the last 2 seasons, plenty of football. So who knows? But obviously he's in the best setup out of those 3 teams because of the weapons he has. I mean, Debo should be back for playoffs. What's interesting to me is that we're watching football last weekend, and Sam Howell's name is trending on Twitter. Now, Sam Howell, I can't remember if he was first or second round. I want to say second, maybe even third. Like, high enough pick. Not Mr. Irrelevant, right? High enough in the draft. Sam Howell from UNC, quarterback. Washington drafts him. And he's trending because everyone's saying, look what Purdy's doing. Howell should be doing that. All of a sudden, the whole fan base, or most of the fan base that loves Taylor Heineke, including me, is saying we should be going to Sam Howell. So now there's a 3-quarterback controversy because Carson Wentz is fully healthy now. He's activated. He's going to be the backup. So Sam Howell's not even going to suit up in case Heineke goes down. But I don't agree with putting Howell into this situation. If we were 4-9, absolutely.
Give him a shot. But
he doesn't fit the mold of Purdy or Heineke or Mike White. He comes in, he's trying out, he's showing us, is he our future? So he's, and on top of that, he's in a playoff stretch run, trying to make the playoffs. So the expectations and the pressure would be crazy different for me if Howell came in. I think he's 6-1-1. I don't care what his numbers look like. He finishes out this season to me.
I wouldn't change it.
And that's going to go right into one of my picks for this week. And it kind of hurts to say it out loud. I don't like that Washington's a 5-point favorite on Sunday night against the Giants. Wentz is fully healthy. Wentz is activated. Wentz is the backup. If Heineke has a rough first half and we're down like 14-3.
Yeah, you got someone to throw, really sling it.
Or if if Rivera doesn't pull the trigger at halftime, which some people are going to be calling for, if he has a poor first half, if he has a poor game on primetime against the Giants as the favorite and they lose, we got a lot of help this weekend, so we'll still be in a playoff spot. Something tells me that Wentz is going to come in again at some point this season. I hate it. It should not be the case.
Yeah.
But, so with that being said, one of my picks for this week is going to be the Giants +5. They just got their butts kicked against the Eagles. They're a buy low, sell high. They're a buy low team, right? In everyone's eyes, they're far down here. They were 6-1 at one point. Now they're 7-5-1. So I think the whole world is going to be on Washington, and that scares me. Washington, it's prime time. I think there's going to be more of a quarterback conversation and a story going into next week. So I'm going to go Giants +5 and a conversation about the quarterbacks leading up as a result of it.
Yeah, I actually could see that because I think Rivera will look at it like, okay, let's weigh our options. Again, Hal, I wouldn't do anything this year. If you want to give him a shot next year, see how he does in training camp, and you want to make him a starter, see how he starts the season, whatever, that makes sense. Yeah, so I think that the Giants are going to come out in that game, and they will be ready to win. I think Davil will be ready to go. I think Saquon's going to get the touches now. He was banged up, right? Last week it was like a neck thing. It was like a stinger. They said it wasn't crazy, so I think he's going to come back. He's going to be healthy. He's going to get a lot of touches, and they got to be able to slow him down. We'll see if Chase Young plays. Who knows if he's ever coming back?
4 weeks in a row he's been
now's the time they need him. This is the matchup, so that'll be interesting. For my pick, it's technically a upset, but if you look at it, I don't know. I don't know what the line is, but I'm going to take the Browns over the Ravens. And this is mostly because the Ravens are probably going with the third-string quarterback this week. Huntley got a concussion. Lamar probably isn't going to play again. Didn't practice yesterday, so they're probably going to go with Anthony Brown. Never heard of the guy, but I think he fits the system, right? Mobile quarterback, can go on the run. Probably going to be a lot of running. But I think that the Browns are going to figure it out a little bit. I think Deshaun looked a little better last week. He's starting to figure it out, starting to get a little more comfortable with the wide receivers. So I'm probably going to take the Browns this week.
They are -2.5.
Yeah,
Browns.
I think I'm taking the Browns.
At home. All right. I actually, believe it or not, know who Anthony Brown is. I watched him play at Oregon. Because every year I take like a college football team to follow, and happened to be Oregon, and Anthony Brown was one of the quarterbacks that they like share time with. So exactly what you just said fits the build and mobile quarterback. But I'm with you on that. I'll go Cleveland -2.5. That is the second of 3 games this Saturday, first weekend of Saturday games. The first one's Colts-Vikings. Vikings are a 4-point home favorite.
Jesus.
We talked about it last week, the last couple of weeks. The Vikings, are they real? Are they frauds? They had weird lines and spreads against the Jets. Pulled it out. Weird line last week against the Lions and kind of got dominated. The score maybe showed it was a little bit closer, but it wasn't.
Lions are lighting it up.
Yeah. So Vikings -4 against the Colts, must-win game to show everybody that they can be that dominant force in the playoffs. Like, they're going to win that division because the division's so bad, even though the Lions are climbing. I mean, they're still 3 or 4 games ahead of them with 4 left, so that's not in jeopardy. But they do not want to kind of snooze their way in and then run into whoever, a Giants, a Seahawks, a Commanders in the first round. So they got to right that ship. So Vikings -4, I think you have to. The Colts they're a weird team with Jeff Saturday. He's kind of been hot and cold, obviously.
Never know what they're going to do.
Matt Ryan, who knows? One week he's done and should be, riding off into the sunset. The next week he looks like partially the Matt Ryan of old. But I'm going to go Vikings -4, and then the last game, which should be the best game of that Saturday, Dolphins-Bills in Buffalo. Bills -8.
That's an interesting one.
The Dolphins are kind of in the same boat as Minnesota, but the difference is they're fighting for that playoff spot, and they have the first wild card.
AFC is just
They have a chance to get right back into the division race, but also you have the Jets and the Patriots and other Chargers right on their tail for a playoff spot. So I think the Dolphins have to show up, especially after that awful performance last week. I'm going to go, so from my top to bottom for Saturday, I go Vikings, Browns, Dolphins.
So the Dolphins one's interesting because they're coming off that week, right? The Chargers' offense was finally healthy, and I think we finally got to see a glimpse of what they could have been this year, which I was really big on that team coming into the year. So, but what's crazy is the defense, I think, was so big in that game. They were taking away the middle of the field, and Tua loves to go downfield to Tyreek and Waddle, and they were taking it away, and they didn't adjust. Like, McDaniel didn't do anything to change anything. So I think they're watching a lot of film this week. They know how good the Bills' defense is, much like, if you look at this year, much better than the Chargers, even though the Chargers should have been good. But they're going to have to look at a lot. It's interesting because Tyreek actually had an ankle injury in that game. Obviously, it didn't really end up mattering. But it's interesting if he's hobbled because that's how he plays. He's a speed guy. So we'll see how that comes out. But I could see that game being close. I think I'm still going to take the Bills, but it's definitely a big game for the Dolphins. If they can win that game, that's huge for them. I think I'm still going Bills, though.
I think they're banged up. Tua's been questionable the last couple weeks. Tyreek Hill, he said, hobbling a little bit. Waddle's been banged up.
Yeah.
So that offense needs to get on the right. Like, these last 4 weeks are, obviously trying to get in and hold your position, but also, like, build a little momentum, get healthy, and get going at the right time. There are 2 more games on this Sunday slate that I want to get into real quick. First one, Lions-Jets. We talked about both teams a little bit already, but I'm going to go on the record right now and say that I think the Lions can and will catch the loser of Sunday night's Commanders-Giants game. Because the Lions are 6-7. They're on the outside looking in. The Commanders and the Giants are both 7-5-1. That tie messes everything up. But the loser of that game, assuming there will be a loser and they don't tie again, will be 7-6-1. The Seahawks are in a little bit of a free fall. They're 7-6, right? I think.
Believe so.
7-6, playing home against San Francisco tomorrow.
Probably not going to win that game.
Right. So you think they're 7-7. The Lions beat the Jets. They're 7-7. They're half a game behind.
They're right in there.
The Giants. Hopefully the Giants, but the Giants or the Commanders. So I'm going to go on record right now and say the Lions will get a wild card spot with the winner of Sunday night's game.
Dude, I would actually love that. I really like the Lions team. I don't usually watch the Hard Knocks. Like, I'll usually go back and watch the videos. I watched like 3 or 4 episodes of it. I love Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Big fan. So going into the year, right, you see Jared Goff, but you saw last year, he started to get a little hot, right? Amon-Ra was eating last year, the second half of the season. Still looks great this year. Jameson Williams is back. First catch of the day, 41-yard touchdown. Like, dude's a stud.
Yep.
So that offense is crazy good. Their defense has been improving, right? Aiden Hutchinson looks like a beast. They didn't miss on that one. So I think that game against the Jets is going to be interesting because you got like an offense that's probably right now top like 4 the past like few weeks.
Yep.
They've been hot. And you're going against that Jets defense, which has been lights out. So I think that's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close one. I don't know how it's going to be. It might actually end up being high scoring. I think the Lions will figure it out a little bit. And I think if Mike White plays, like, he's been great. So I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. I think I'm going to take the Lions. I think I'm taking the Lions as well. They're just hot right now.
They're hot, and the Jets, Mike White's banged up. I mean, you saw that hit he took last week.
So even if he plays, he's going to
literally got folded like a chair.
Oh, it was
rib
crazy.
Injuries. Flacco has proven time and time again he can't move that offense. So I think regardless of who plays, no matter how healthy Mike White is, you have to take the Lions. They're just too hot. I wonder if, as a precaution, they suit up Zach Wilson.
Possibly.
And either suit up all 3 or sit Flacco and suit up Wilson as the backup.
I think those. If I was them, I'd probably go shooting up all 3 because I still think Flacco's better than Wilson. At least he can throw the ball like to a degree. He can read a defense somewhat, right? Like he's Super Bowl quarterback. So
yeah,
they'd probably go all 3 and then have an emergency kind of if Mike White goes down and Flacco's not.
That'd be cool to see how it all plays out.
Will be interesting.
Last game, I feel like I owe the Rampant family this one. We talked last week about the Raiders, and I said it time and time again. I put my hands up and I said I am not saying the Rams are going to win this game against the Raiders on Thursday night. It ended up happening. Mayfield marched down 98 yards. Frank,
Insane.
Zach, Frankie, Michelle, the whole family. I'm sorry I put that in the universe. As a to show my appreciation for this Raiders team. Raiders at home against the Patriots we just saw on Monday night beat the Kyler Murray-less Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to go Raiders. I believe it's a pick 'em, so I'm just going to go Raiders win this game. They keep their playoff hopes alive. Rampant family in attendance. I'm going to go 24-16.
It would be a nasty score like that.
The Raiders get it done at home and keep their slim playoff hopes alive.
So obviously I'm a Patriot fan, and I'm not really scared about the Raiders, just because I know they're going to throw the game somehow, usually. But Ramondre went down, and they had the 2 backup, I think they're both rookies, actually, running backs. They look pretty good, though. So I think if the Raiders get if the Patriots get their running game going, the Raiders defense is not great against the run. We know that. They got their running game going. I think they'll win that game. It's going to be a close, like, defensive, weird game because I think Patriots defense is great, but again, Devontae Adams is like a different animal.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs, different animal. I think it'll be close though. Obviously, I'm going to take the Patriots just because I'm a Patriot fan. I'm going to be biased in that one. But I think that'll be a good game to watch. I will definitely be watching that one for sure.
Yeah, home stretch. 4 weeks left. Like I said, fantasy playoff implications. We'll have updates next week.
Oh yeah.
And this is it. We're getting into the thick of it. Playoffs right around the corner. That does it for episode 8. I think episode 9 tomorrow will be the JA Elite guys talking a little World Cup. Cool. Second semifinal game today, final on Sunday. Make sure to tune in, catch that. Otherwise, we'll be back next week.
Sounds good. Later.
Cut.